And you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, my boy, Tortua!
What happened? Put me to sleep with that intro.
What's poppin', Tort?
What's going on?
How you feeling today?
Another day, another pirate loss.
Oh, God. Here we
These guys
go.
started off so hot.
I know. It's every year, you know? You get so excited, and then by mid-April, it's all over.
Are they 50-50 already at this point?
Yeah, they're 500 right now. They'll be fine.
They'll be
Just a little
fine.
skin.
Yeah, fine.
They won't be fine.
As long as they win 73 games, I'll be happy.
I've been watching a lot.
Yeah, you're watching now. This is the worst time to watch.
I've been watching from the start.
He texted me yesterday. He just goes, Cruz is fucked. And I go, the whole team is fucked.
It's just fuck. Like it's interesting to me. I'm actually enjoying like getting back into it. I hope that they can get competitive again.
I see that you're like actually watching the games. It's nice.
It's all there are certain aspects that are really fascinating to me. One is they don't use hand signs anymore. They haven't for a couple of years. They have
pitch comm.
The pitch comm, yeah. That's interesting to me because with now the pitch clock added on top of that, I feel as though pitchers don't have the opportunity to shake anything off. Or is it the inverse?
No, they do.
They send the signal to the catcher.
No, so I think
because I only know pitch comm like high school and college, and it comes from the bench.
It can go either way. So I think that they can send it to the catcher, or the catcher can send it to them, but not both.
What are they using to communicate?
They just have
buttons?
they have little buttons. They have like if you look, the catcher will have little like buttons on his
right
on his wrist, and then it just relays.
Right, but the pitcher doesn't have said buttons.
The pitcher doesn't, but I've seen pitchers that did. So they can call their own pitches if they want.
Okay.
But most likely it's there you go. Yeah,
it's the catcher going.
It's the catcher, right? And also, I think one infielder and one outfielder is allowed to know what the pitch is.
Oh, that's cool.
So like it helps out obviously if you know if it's an off-speed.
I like everything
pitch.
about it. I'm just basically saying that with the clock added on top of it, you can't really shake off and still constitute coming set in enough time.
No, they shake off, and they do, but I mean, it's probably maybe not as much.
It would have to be really fast. I was watching pretty closely.
Definitely shake off. I've seen them.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying it's not easy. There was somebody got called for a pitch clock violation. On like they were literally on the rubber with 15 seconds, but because they were going through their signs, they just got. They got pegged for a pitch clock violation, and it's like, I don't know, man. It just seems tough to me. Also, like, you can't argue balls and strikes. Somebody was arguing balls and strikes for the Pirates and got rung up for his third strike because he came set in the box with like 12 seconds, and then he like stepped out to argue balls and strikes again, and he'd already used his timeout.
Yeah.
So they just rung him up.
Did you guys see, I completely forgot about this, but did you see the Rockies home run get whatever a fan interacted with it and caught the ball?
And they called it an out.
And they called it an out?
The most famous version of this was the Orioles versus the Yankees in, I don't know, 1998 maybe?
Yeah.
I think I was in high school, but I might have been in college, so it might have been like 2000, 2001. But the Orioles had made the playoffs for the first time forever. It was when Brady Anderson had that, monumental year of hitting 50 bombs. And I think it was an Oriole fan reached out to catch a home run from somebody on the Orioles. It might have even been Brady Anderson. I don't know. And I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay. No, it was the opposite.
Opposite, yeah.
So it was were they? Yeah, they were in the Yankee Stadium. That's right. And I believe they lit the home run stand. So it was a Jeter home run. Yeah,
of course it was Jeter.
Right. Anybody else, they would have called it fucking fan interference. But if you watch this replay, it's so blatantly obvious.
They like literally reached over.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a can of corn, but like
he would have caught it.
He was fucking camped under the ball.
Yeah.
Never called fan interference. Orioles obviously go on to lose that series. Yankees might have won the World Series that year, to be honest. Yeah. It could have been 96. Benitez, man, fucking
Yankee
Benitez
Stadium?
is so nasty. Yeah. The old Yankee Stadium.
They won.
What year was it, Guapo?
They won in 2002.
96.
96, yeah.
96, there you
Okay.
go.
Man, I'm not that far out of the game. You know, I remember my history. But yeah, so they're obviously a lot more strict on that stuff now, and I think it's replayable, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it has to be.
So many things are like, it's so unclear to me, like what's up for debate with replay and what's not, because in baseball specifically, like you could literally make everything replayable.
Right.
A couple of the rule changes I'm not a big fan of. Like, I don't like that they got rid of the neighborhood play altogether. I don't like that.
What the hell is the neighborhood? Oh.
You didn't have to come in contact with second base when turning two.
Yeah.
You could just like be within the sphere, basically, of the bag. And I also don't like that you can now like replay stolen bases and stuff. So like, if
or it's like they slip
literally,
off
if just like if it just like loses contact,
Right.
like I view the base as like a cylinder, sort of like a pile-on,
Right.
and I feel like that should carry over. Where like if you're over top of the bag, like your body is over top of the bag, but you're not making contact,
Right.
You're still safe.
Like you
in
beat
my
the ball
opinion.
by a mile, but then your hand just comes off like
Ever so slightly,
a millimeter,
yeah. And they're just holding
you're
the tag the whole time.
Right, then you're out.
Yeah, it just feels like such a disadvantage. But go
Didn't
ahead.
they add another rule with running the bases?
With the slidings, you can't block the bag
Yeah,
now
there we
as the
go.
defender, and then also you can't slide through the base any longer.
Yeah.
To break things up, so like you have to slide to the base. It's basically little league rules.
So the Pirates have been they've been teaching their players to like if you're just out, if you know you're out, instead of like going like a hard slide, like to break up the play, you just stand there and stand their way.
Yeah.
And then you have to try to throw it around you.
I would just turn
And
around at least.
It literally won the Pirates a game earlier this season where like it was the ninth inning and they stopped and the guy had to try to throw it around him and he threw it away and then we scored and won.
That
Walked it off like that.
Yeah, that seems like a rule that should be changed. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure like in our little league rules, you weren't allowed to do that. It would be considered interference.
Maybe.
Like you had to slide. It was like I'm pretty sure that's the way little league works. It's like must slide rules. But yeah, I don't know. I think that everything's moving in their favor. Skeens was on McAfee's show. He's pitching in Indy.
Oh.
So local to the show. So he came on, he did a segment, and he was saying that they're testing now in AAA. Half the week they get automatic umpires, and half the week they get human umpires.
Right, yeah.
But they can challenge the humans. So they just like tap their hat, and then it goes to
You get like
to
two
replay.
or three challenges.
Yeah.
For balls and strikes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be super, super quick, so it's not like, dragging the game out. But I watched Skeens pitch. I think it was one day the Pirates were off, and I was like, oh, I'll just tune in. Man, he's ready for the big leagues. Get him up there.
They're really limiting him. They have him like a 55 pitch count.
Yeah.
And he hasn't thrown more than 3 innings yet.
That's fine.
He's struck out 14.
He'll be
like,
nice and fresh when we need him in September.
Yeah, I will say that much. They shouldn't bring him up if they're not competitive. Although, like, I don't know, man. I'm not of this mind of like nursing young arms. They're like, oh, this guy's the future. It's like, is he?
Yeah.
Here's 2 fucking things, buddy. Number 1, you're the Pirates. You're not going to sign him to that long-term deal. You're going to let him go after his rookie contract.
But we're
the same
still
way you
going to
did with
get
Cole.
4 or 5 years out of him.
Sure. So let's fucking go. You know, you're on year 1. Let's fucking go.
The Pirates window right now is like the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's like in number
3 or 4
2.
years to be good.
Number 2, even if you do plan on signing somebody like that long term or whatever, it's like what's the difference? Like I don't believe in this whole spreading out the wear and tear, right? Like if you look at like what happened between 2010 and 1980, where for 30 plus years, 40 years, whatever, you just had guys going 9, throwing 300 plus innings every single season, starting 30 times, no problems whatsoever. Some of them had Tommy John, sure, everybody had, but like guys like Randy Johnson were in the league for 23 years, Roger Clemens, whatever. It's like now all of a sudden we're afraid that the window is only like 3 years if we don't keep their pitch count under 50 for their
I
entire
don't know
first two
sports ball
seasons.
very well, but when you have
A lot to get a lot of motion, but he threw hard. He threw like 95 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think this is just like the market working itself out. So it's like they're probably overcompensating. They're like being overcautious, and eventually it'll skew back.
Well, the amount of Tommy John surgeries in the last 18 months is insane.
Yeah.
Did you guys just we'll pivot off of baseball here in a minute, but did you see the attendance for the White Sox last week?
I heard it wasn't great.
So it was reported that they were the second lowest attendance that day, the Marlins being the lowest at 8,000. Wow. They had reported that they had sold 10,000 seats to this game. Now, I don't know what you see, but between this picture and the other one that I sent Guapo, you can count the fucking people in the stands.
No. It's dressed like a green seat day.
Oh,
Place is packed.
Right. There are more people at batting practice to your average losing team than the White Sox draw on any given day, which is fucking insane to me.
That's down bad.
I've never. Have you ever been to Comiskey?
Mm-mm.
Me either. Maybe I'll go. I'm going to Milwaukee next week. Not that long of a drive.
Mm-hmm.
Why go to Wrigley? You know, fucking traditional old school park.
When you said you were going to Milwaukee, I was like, let me look at the Pirates schedule.
I looked.
I know, yeah. They missed it by like a week.
Yeah.
Or something like
Very
that.
unlucky.
Yeah. I was like, man, if the Pirates are there, I might just have to tag along.
Yeah. I would have enjoyed that. Even whether they played, I had 3 shots. They could have played the Sox, the Cubs, or the Brewers and fucking go over.
Yeah.
I might check out a Brewers game while I'm there, though. I've never been to that stadium. Been to Wrigley
it's really
before.
Nice.
Wrigley was beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into a little other sport. Ryan Garcia, friend of the poker community.
Can we just skip this?
Wash once again, Guapo.
Yeah.
Just
Dude, I got so
What happened,
this
Guapo?
weekend. The
What
thing
happened?
is, and it's funny how I think about money sometimes. I try to limit myself to Uber
it
Eats.
is funny how you think about it.
We all have a good laugh.
I try to limit my Uber Eats to like maybe 2, maybe 3 times a week.
Wait till we get to the end of the muck.
And I thought to myself this weekend, like, I have an extra $100 in Uber Eats that's just free money because I put $750 on Devin Haney for the easiest $100 you can make all year. Needless to say, I won't be having Uber Eats for at least another 2 months because I got owned.
Did you watch this fight?
Yeah.
I did.
Okay, give me some details here because I caught like the social media version of it, and it looked like Haney got fucking mopped.
Man, it's weird. So everybody knew that Ryan's game plan was going to be that he's going to come out really hard in the first 3 rounds because it was speculated the guy's been partying. He hasn't really been training. He's been on social media saying like all kinds of really crazy stuff.
Okay,
so
we'll dig in that in a moment. But continue with your fight analysis.
Yeah. So they thought his biggest chance was going to be in the first 3 rounds because he's just going to go in there and say fuck it. I'm going to try to knock him out in 3 rounds, and if I can't do it, I'll just quit in the middle. Like it was a very big possibility that he was just going to be disqualified in this fight. It was actually a betting line. And he comes out in the first round and he catches him with a left hook, almost knocks him down in the first round. Haney gets his legs back, and for the middle rounds, he's actually doing okay, but he keeps getting hit with this left hook and he just keeps getting dropped. Like Ryan he didn't look like a crazy person, to be quite honest.
Okay, so let me dig into that a little bit. So first and foremost, he came in overweight, right?
3 pounds.
Okay, and he had to pay.
Which, from my understanding, you missed weight pretty big there.
Okay, and he had to pay a $1.5 million penalty.
Right, and
for
that wasn't a stipulation through the promotion. The day before at the press conference, Devin Haney's team noticed that this guy looked really big, and they kind of goaded him and said, "Hey, look, how about for every pound that you come in overweight, we bet $500,000?" And Ryan said, "All right, fuck it, let's do it."
What the
So
fuck?
that's where the $1.5 million came.
He had to know he was going to be overweight, right?
He's also very cocky and just probably thought most of it's water weight and I can get rid of it.
Bro, he drank a beer while he was being weighed in.
This is that was the
That might have been a $500K beer.
Right. That was a ceremonial weigh-in. The actual weigh-in was like 6 or 7 hours before in front of the commission.
Okay.
So he missed weight there. So I think to just kind of
Yeah, of
do
course.
his thing.
He needed the beer.
At that point, you might as well get your fucking money's worth.
Sure.
All right, so has he ever been? He's not like known to be a knockout artist, is he?
Yeah, his knockout ratio is actually pretty good. I think it's like 70 or 80%.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got hands.
And this is the weight that he usually fights at, or was
he
he
usually
fighting
fights
down?
at 140. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about the lead up to this fight because it's fascinating to me watching it all unravel. I only know Ryan from having seen him play streams. So I don't know him as the boxer. Like, I know that he is a boxer.
Yeah, he's actually very, very, very talented.
Okay. Why was he such a big dog?
I think it's because of all the antics that happened a month prior
Well,
to that.
he was a dog opening dog. Like before the antics, he was a dog.
Sure, but the odds got even worse in the upcoming days coming to the fight because all the things he was doing on social media.
Right.
He was talking about conspiracy theories. He was talking about
all
everything. Kinds of craziness.
He was deep in the streets of the government elite pedophilia, drinking baby blood.
He was he was
Pizzagate all over again.
All over again.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff just keeps resurfacing. Okay, do you think that he was just trying to get the line moved?
According to him, this is what he's saying now is that he was just trying to get really good odds on the fight.
And
amazing.
He ended up betting on himself, right? He bet $2 million on himself to win
$2 million
to win $10 million.
Let's take a look here.
2 to win 12.
2 to win 12.
Yeah.
And
Some of that's Guapo's money.
It is. Yeah, it's 2 to win 12. Sorry, I don't have the asset. Up
okay,
there.
so he picked up 12 million betting on himself plus whatever the purse was.
50 million.
50 million?
I think something.
50 million?
It was
Yeah,
something
these guys are getting paid.
What the fuck?
It was something wild.
Bro, that's like a Tyson in his peak era purse.
Yeah. That's why when he was talking about he's going to be
Yeah,
a
but 50
billionaire.
million in his era is like 200 million now.
Fine, but like this wasn't even a championship fight,
Yeah.
right? Like this was just
So it was actually a championship fight. What made it not a championship fight is that he missed weight.
missed weight. Interesting.
Wow, so he would be the...
He'd have all 3 belts. So he'd be the unified champ.
So
at
he didn't give a
140.
shit about paying that
143.
1.5.
Well, not once he laid fucking 2 to win 12. He was like, I'll take a little extra weight here.
Yeah.
Okay. All this is just like very fascinating to me. Boxing is a sport that I've never really gotten too into. I think like we were very spoiled in the late 80s, early 90s watching Tyson, Holyfield, all those guys come through.
Hagler,
But
Hearns, Chavez.
it was all about the heavyweights though, right? Like it doesn't seem to be that way. Like when you move more into modern times, it was more about like Mayweather and what's the
Filipino guy?
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao,
Yeah. They're all poker
Yeah.
players too. Pacquiao plays a ton.
Does he really?
He used to grind commerce, man. He used to fucking grind.
Huh.
Now I think he just has like way too much money. But yeah, so I never really got that into it. Like I think whenever it started to become more of like, I don't even know what weight class those guys fall into. Lightweight,
Manny,
featherweight.
155.
So like, what is that? Featherweight?
I actually don't know.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
it's 155,
Anyway,
yeah.
I never got too into it, so I never followed closely. But fascinating to me that these guys are still getting that big of a draw, especially in the MMA era, right? Like where these guys are going out fucking blood sport, killing one another, and they're getting paid like a handshake and a slap on the ass. You know, it's like these Dana White pay-per-views are fucking pulling in like $500 million, and he's paying the fighters like, hey, if you kill someone this time,
I'm gonna give you
I'll give you a
300
$300K bonus, okay?
which is like nothing to their bottom line.
Of course, it's like a drop in the bucket.
The contracts these guys sign going into the UFC is just, it's so predatory.
I get it too. I totally get it because they capture people on the rise, like when they're young enough in their career that they think that there's that second contract, right? It's kind of like rookie deals in major sports, particularly like when you're
Or like
not,
the music industry used to be.
right. Yeah. Like the Goo Goo Dolls are like famous for this. I think they signed like a 5-album deal or something along those lines. And they got paid dick for it, and then they just
Then
had
became
to like,
famous, and then they just had to just make
yeah.
So
a bunch of music for no money.
Yeah.
So I can't find where how much they made this fight, but when Garcia fought Gervonta Davis, it was $100 million purse generated, and Garcia got 30 million of that.
Wow.
And I'm
And
pretty
for-
sure he made more money on this fight.
And for this one, it was a 55-45
Split.
45 split.
Guys, we
so you
chose the
made
wrong profession.
And
Why aren't we all boxers?
Garcia was getting 45.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah, Haney was the A side because he's got all the belts.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. That's a lot of money. And then on top of it, he's just like getting an extra 12. Okay, let's fucking go, baby. So Ryan Garcia's rich. That's first and foremost.
Hold on, when he was on his rant, he said he was about to make me a billionaire.
Jeez.
Like,
Wow.
or he
I
said
mean,
he
people
was-
say things.
He was gonna be a billionaire.
Yeah. I have a fucking billionaire in training T-shirt too. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Not for nothing.
He probably has a cleaner path to it than I do, but it's not easy.
A couple of good investments, he's there.
Yeah, maybe.
He's allegedly just kind of giving it away in these home games though.
Well,
guy likes to gamble,
as they tend to. That would actually be a good segue into another segment. But prior to that, I want to kind of dig into this idea of him betting on himself, and I want to get kind of everyone's opinion of what you think about athletes doing this, because I'm of the mind that not only do I think this is okay, I think it should be encouraged. Like
to bet on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've come to a point where sports gambling has become a major regulated market in this nation, let's call it. Forever it was a black market. It had a lot of stigma behind it. It's very similar to poker, right? Follows a very similar trend line. But now that most places have active gambling, whether it's through DraftKings or FanDuel or their local casinos and books, these books are major players now, and they all have their hands in sports, right? Like every single sport. I can't even remember. I don't remember which sport it is, but there's like a DraftKings or FanDuel arena. I don't know. Like one of the arenas is like namesake by one of these sports books. So it's like, at what point do we let the athletes get their digits wet along the lines? As long as they're betting on themselves.
I don't know, man, because
what's the problem?
Also, I wanted to say, if Devin Haney is getting 7.5 to 1, why not take a little fall?
I was going to go that way, but
no, because then he'd be betting on Garcia.
Right. I realize the argument here is that you're going to be betting on yourself. I don't know if setting a precedent. It seems way too easy to just think about it from the other side. Floyd Mayweather comes to mind, like when he fought Conor McGregor towards the end of his career. When that line first came out, it was like 16, 17 to 1 or something. Like,
okay.
What would stop Floyd from spreading out $10-15 million amongst people and saying, hey, I need you guys to go bet $1 million? Like, I don't know how this works.
What would stop him from doing that anyway?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, if it was illegal, it stopped him from being able to earn.
An amazing way.
But that still would be illegal. You can't bet against yourself.
Right.
We just don't know.
Nobody would ever argue that you can bet against yourself.
I know we were talking about this before the show started, and I like the first thing that usually comes to my mind or other people's minds is like, well, they have insider information, and then it's not fair for them to be betting on themselves if they know, like, if there's a certain injury or the team, just being involved is going to garner some, advantages. And then you made the point that, that only goes against the house, right? So that only disadvantages the house. But I'm wondering, like, would them having, the insider information and then being able to bet on themselves and place these big bets, will that trickle down to disadvantages for the other players? Like, will it change lines and certain things to now like the average retail bettor is kind of getting fucked?
Well, the average retail bettor is already getting fucked.
Well, I know, even more so.
So I'll answer your question with a question, even though I know that's a little bit unfair, but I'll turn it back on you. Should then it be illegal for advantage gamblers to place bets?
Because
the exact same result.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. How depends on if they have. Yeah.
I mean, in our heart of hearts, we have to say no, right? Like, of course, if you're an advantage gambler, you should be allowed to place
right,
bets.
of course. Of course, yeah.
It's the same thing. They're advantage gamblers.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why is it the same?
Because what's the difference how you accumulated your insider info?
Because you're part of the industry that's being bet on.
Yeah,
like,
the other one's fucking stats.
Right. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
I mean,
There's
Yeah,
a million ways to become an advantage gambler.
Sure.
Like, sure, you can shop lines, you can run algos, you can all do all these things, but you could also just
that should be all legal.
have a boy who plays for the squad.
But like, why would this
that is not advantage gambling. That's where the line is drawn.
No, it's not.
All right, well, there should be a fucking line drawn there between the two because
Wait,
stats and algos.
Who's going to police it?
Huh?
Who's going to police it?
The FBI.
The FBI is going to police
The SEC.
if I know a guy on the Pirates that told me that, their starting pitcher isn't feeling it today.
Like, why is this fine in the world of sports,
why
but
you
not
think that's
like
crazy.
on Wall Street? Like, what is the difference? Like you're not allowed to have insider trading on Wall Street, but all Wall Street is a giant casino, anyways.
I would certainly never encourage anyone to do something like this, but I feel like the sport that's most exploitable, talking about what you guys are talking about, is the UFC. I can go get a membership at Couture's gym or at some of these other gyms where like these guys are training. They don't close the gym off, not always, when these guys are training. Like, it wouldn't be hard to just go and train there and see, oh wow, what's his face just rolled his ankle, or this guy looks like he's not going to make weight.
I was in the bank with Marab the other day.
I don't see a problem with any of this.
No, I think that's sharp.
Yeah, I don't see it. Well, there you go. Why is that any different than being his sparring partner?
I'm just saying, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the
I understand.
other.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire.
That's different. Like, that's like information.
Not everybody has access to that information. Like, because I live in Las Vegas, I can go to these places.
Right.
Like,
If you live in
Philly, like
in the Midwest,
you can't just walk into these
That's
gyms.
hard fucking work.
You're making it seem as though this is a zero-sum game where if you have this insider information, then some other customer is suffering, and that's not the case.
That's what I was asking.
But that's really not the case, right? It's the casino or the betting house that is mostly going to be the one suffering, and I think that's the biggest reason why this differs from stocks. Although I do think that you make a very fair point. Like, when it comes to the stock market and the exchange and everything else, it really is just a way to bet on outcomes, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, say you have insider information in the stock market, now you just dump on some random person that doesn't have that information.
Correct.
Right? So like they get
right.
hold
The
house
is retail in some regard, and that
you're their exit liquidity.
That's the I think that is the major difference of why that market's regulated differently. Is that at the end of the day, it has a direct impact on the nationwide economy.
Like daily fantasy, maybe they couldn't do that because that would directly impact the other players in the pool.
Right? I want to know.
I don't think it could have a big enough impact.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm trying to search if like something like this could be illegal. Like, I feel like it is. Like,
illegal.
I think it becomes illegal when you start influencing. Like, obviously, if you're a fat cat and you go to these UFC gyms, and somebody on the undercard who's making, 15, 20 grand for a fight, I think that's where it starts to get illegal. I think getting the information isn't so much.
No,
if you're implying that like bribing someone to take a dive is not on the up and up, then yes, of course. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about realms where like you can bet on yourself or bet on events that you have no impact over.
Yeah, but see, the problem is you could bet on yourself and then have your opponent take the dive, like pay your opponent to take the dive. You know what I mean? So like that's where a problem could come in.
But
what's the incentive for the guy to take the dive?
Why? How could you ever pay another professional athlete to take a dive? They're making too much money. I
mean, in boxing, it happens all the time, right?
Well, in low level,
I don't know, say it happens all the time. But
in low level boxing, there's a thought that it's often rigged. But one of the most famous lines that I think it was Shaq was just telling this on a podcast. He came into a bar one night and he was there was like a roughneck sitting at the bar and he goes, "Shaq, you don't want to be here right now." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "I'm one of the biggest bookmakers in the world. Like you don't want to be seen with me, yada yada yada." And Shaq goes, "I just need to know, like, do you pay players?" And he goes, "No, players are way too expensive. We pay refs."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and it's the same as the stock market. Like, yes, we don't want inside trade, but the truth is we just don't want the common man to inside trade. there's tons of inside trading going on, especially at the political level, where these guys are all kind of just fat catting around, getting no salary, but making piles of money on the market because they have all the information.
Right. The same thing happened in the Nevada State Athletic Commission. They didn't bribe a boxer, but a boxer's team bribed a Nevada State Athletic Commission when the guy went to go take a test in the bathroom.
Yeah. And it would happen with judges as well. Like it's way more likely that the
where
people,
the money's more impactful. Yeah,
of course. The athletes themselves are going to be way harder to buy off, unless you're talking like the student athlete level, in which case that's why the NIL has kind of been brought back in. I just don't buy that much into this slippery slope argument of like, well, if you let them bet on themselves, then we open up the floodgates to having to work. Well, it's like, no, all this stuff exists already. All you're doing is taking a hard stance on it across the board, making it taboo, as opposed to actually adding a little bit of nuance and saying like, well, when Calvin Ridley is hurt, laid up on the couch and betting on NBA games and on his team to win, that probably doesn't impact anything.
I mean, it makes sense why we think this way though too, right? Because we're poker players. We literally bet on ourselves every time we buy into a tournament or sit down at a cash game. Yeah. Right? So it's like, oh, I'm going to sell for this tournament. Well, if I sell less, I'm just betting on myself more.
Right. Yeah. Precisely. Yeah. So like, it's funny because I think it's very rational to stress test it and say like, oh, well, then you could do this and get an outcome. Like Andre said something in the chat, and then he quickly redacted it where he said, well, both fighters could just bet like 50x what they're going to earn in the match on each other's outcome and then collude. It's like, no, that doesn't work either. Because number one, the purse is going to be way, way more than any amount of money they can get down on each other. And secondly, they would both have to go all in on the non-sharp side. Right. And then somehow split that up and ensure that the dive was taken. There's just a million reasons why it would be very hard for that to be the case. Yeah. I just find it to be very silly whenever people get punished for mistakes that are illogical. Like the Calvin Ridley suspension was one of the most mind-numbing things I've ever seen in my life. This guy's like, sitting at home on the couch injured, out for the year, playing like, penny stakes on DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever the fuck it was. Like making wagers on his team that sucked. Like he's losing. He's making negative EV bets anyway.
They were playing the Falcons.
No, it were the Falcons.
Oh, I'm sorry. They were playing Jacksonville. Wait, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. They were playing Jacksonville, I think.
I don't know.
I feel like that was.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't think he won. Anyway,
he didn't.
And it's very much in line with like with the whole Pete Rose thing. It's like, okay, I understand why the reaction was the reaction when it was when Pete Rose first got suspended from baseball and when he got blackballed effectively. And like, look, there's probably a lot of other things around the Pete Rose allure that probably was a stain to baseball. Like, if he's betting on himself and games, he probably has a lot of other vices that, weren't exactly above board. But the whole point is the thing that he's being nailed to the cross for is as a manager betting on his team to win. And it's like, at the end of the fucking day, what are we doing here? Like, this guy just had enough confidence to say, not only are we going to win, and, there were some people who said, like, oh, well, if he bets on his team to win certain days and not on other days, he's effectively, less confident in those starters, or he'll run certain players out there longer, whatever. It's like, who fucking cares? Like, who cares about any of this stuff? It's an insane reason to keep one of the greatest hitters of all time out of the Hall of Fame. It's an insane reason for Calvin Ridley to lose $11 million and be suspended for an entire season. Like, yes, go hard on people who break the rules and take dives. Go hard on, I can't remember that NBA ref.
Donovan.
Yeah.
Tim Donovan, I think.
Yeah. Fucking, get him out, obviously.
Jonte Porter, you gotta
Jonte
go.
Porter, you gotta go. Bro, you can't do this. Like, I don't know if he just like wasn't making much money or he's just stupid.
I'd go with B.
It could have been both. I mean, I think he was like a D-League player that was promoted up.
Yeah, but he wasn't still living.
He wasn't like the sixth man, right? Like he was like the eighth man off the bench or something like that.
Yeah, maybe ninth.
Didn't really get many minutes. The thing is like some of this stuff could have went undetected, right? Like he made an $80,000 bet. Well, he didn't make it. Sorry. He basically let's see. He found somebody who like maybe cut him in on it or whatever, but they placed an $80,000 bet on a Porter prop. And the prop was like over under a certain amount of points or whatever.
Yeah. And
they took the under. And he checked into the game and 3 minutes later, like checked out with an illness, ensuring that the prop hit. It's like, nobody's going to fucking figure that out. Yeah. Also, don't bet $80K in one spot, you dummies.
Dumbass.
Like if you made $10,000 bets, like across whatever, find some fucking underground bookie that will take, like, no one ever finds this stuff out. But then they like coupled it with a bunch of other shit where he himself netted like $22K placing bets on, he placed 13 bets on NBA games using another person's online betting account. 3 of those wagers were multi-game parlays in which Porter bet on the Raptors to lose. And it's like, here's the dumbest part of it all. He bet on them to lose and didn't even play in those games. So it's like he didn't even impact the outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just not optically okay.
The Pete Rose one, there is something to, like, he could have been stacking lineups, like stacking like rotations, or you know, like shit like that. Like,
but who cares?
I mean,
he's the manager. Like, why is that? Like, what's the difference?
I was under the impression that he was in trouble because
he's betting to win the game.
Right.
If he's stacking the lineup in order to win the fucking game,
yeah, but
how are you upset as an owner?
He lose some games. Like you're giving, like, say you put your best out there, the games you bet, and the games that you don't bet, you put like the lesser guys.
Yeah, because maybe sometimes the line comes out. The line comes out before the lineup, right?
Yeah.
So now you can get an advantage on the line. Because
it doesn't come out before the pitcher.
But in order to stay in action, you guys, he has to win games. In order for him to continue to make these bets, like he needs to win games. Like,
I understand that, but like
so yeah, he's prioritizing the games that he bets more than the other games. But like, you know, people are like, throughout an entire baseball season, your stars are all going to have off days anyway. You're going to be giving them off days anyway. Like, how managers choose when to sit and when to start players doesn't matter if the outcome is he's incentivized to win games.
Correct.
I think they should all be. I think it should be mandatory. Managers should have to fucking bet on themselves.
So fine, they have to bet every game then.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because like I think there's something too. Like there's something there that they can try to take advantages.
I don't see how.
Or it's just
unless you're taking your number one starter like in your rotation and saying like, all right, everybody, you guys are all on a 4-man rotation. He's on an 8-man rotation. So he's going to pitch every 7th day, and I'm going to bet every 7th day. Like that, yeah, sure.
Or just like,
but honestly,
or
even
just
then,
taking your like bullpen players and just like stacking them, your best bullpen players all for like a day where you have your 4 starter.
But bro, the incentive is winning games.
I understand.
He's upping every time that he bets on the team. He's going to be upping his percentage chance or his likelihood of winning the game.
I understand.
That's the point.
But I think it lowers it some other days then.
That's fine. That's the whole point, man. It's 162 games.
But he's getting all right, fine. He shouldn't be, the MLB shouldn't scold him for this, I guess. But like it lowers it.
I think we should study it. I think we should go back and look and see what his performance is compared to a normal manager who's doing like the normal every X rotation, right? Because
we need to see all those bets.
If he's going through matchups, if he's saying like, motherfucker, they're throwing their number 1 against my number 4 today, I'm resting everybody.
I think what Conrad is trying to say is he's not trying to win like the most games possible in the year. He's just trying to win the games that he bets on. So like he might actually lose more games throughout the year.
Well,
the way he sets his lineup, like if he would have set his lineup like optimally throughout the whole year, then he would have won more games. But instead, he's setting it just for the games that he wins. So he's going to win the games that he bets on more often than
I understand.
Now let's multiply that by 30,
well, that's not what
30
you said.
Teams.
No,
let's multiply by 30 teams.
You said that by him betting on games, he's just going to
stop. I understand your point, and I get that that's a concern. My counterpoint to that is that I don't think as humans or people, like, I don't think that any manager in the league has any fucking clue how to optimize for wins. I think it's a ridiculous statement to think that we do think that they can. That's an absurd. That's just like an absurd concept. It's so archaic. There's absolutely no way humanly possible that they could outperform an algorithm doing the exact same thing. And if we leaned on the algorithm and cherry picked what games to bet from, who gives a shit? So if in this instance, Pete Rose is effectively just trying to maximize the amount of times he can bet, that's a good thing for your team.
Yeah, but what? No, I don't know. Yeah, but I don't think that's exactly what's happening. What if the algorithm was going to say like, hey, I'm going to optimize it so on Sunday we have the best chance to win, but the rest of the days we have a much worse chance to win just because of how I'm going to set the lineup throughout the week, and then he bets on Sunday.
My counter,
that's the bet.
Right, but my point to that is like that's just almost impossible to do.
Yeah,
because you only have a finite number of players. And there can't be so much fallout from setting a lineup one game that it alters the next 7. What could you do to a lineup in one game that the fallout
Exhaust your bullpen.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
That would be like
that's
the biggest. That's the biggest one in my head.
Yeah.
Like the bullpen usage, because that's the
how could
one
you exhaust your bullpen in a game you're trying to win?
What?
How can you exhaust your bullpen in a game that
you
you're trying to win?
You might strategically try to throw your bullpen throughout the rest of a week, as opposed to throwing them 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. You're just throwing at your best.
Yeah, or like maybe you're up by 4 runs and you would normally just go to somebody else, but now you just go to your closer instead. And now he's not going to be available for tomorrow when you might really need him. But you probably didn't need him today, but you put him in anyways just because you want to make sure you win this game.
The way I see it is the bullpen is like
very small
the most
and minute, or you know.
I understand what Brian just said. I don't understand what Conrad was saying.
That's what I was saying.
Just the only thing that I took away is that like you could have a non-high leverage spot and put in a high leverage player.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, like there's still just a finite number of them.
Right.
And we're talking about an inning.
Right. No, yeah.
Right, grand scheme of things. And it might be a handful of innings over the course of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically playing devil's advocate here.
I get that. Yeah. And that's totally reasonable. I'm trying to steel man it back and forth with you. I just think at the end of it, like, I think this is very quantifiable. I think we very easily, and I'm sure most sports bettors that are sharp are running analytics like this. And I imagine what we would find is that managers across the board are the most worthless paid position in any sport.
Wow.
I just can't fathom the need for a manager on a baseball team.
The best what do you call it? Example I can give. Say the Yankees are playing the fucking who sucks? The White Sox. There you go. Say they're playing the White Sox, right? And they're up by 4 runs. They're never going to throw their best relief pitcher then. They're just never going to do it. They're going to bring somebody in that's just whatever, just get the game through. Like, instead, if a manager bet on the game, they're just going to stack that. They're going to stack the 6th inning. They're going to stack the 7th inning and just, like, bring in their best relievers.
Sure. I understand that. But
and you don't think that's changing the outcome on other days?
I think it's very, very, very insignificant big picture.
I mean,
like, over the long run, I think it's very insignificant.
I think there's an easy fix here.
Go ahead.
Just restructuring the contracts of the managers. So in other words, you say, you know what, 30% of your salary, we're just going to put on money line bets.
Yes.
Yes. There you go. I like
that. Yes, Guapo. Absolutely. I think you would see so much more parity in baseball.
That's a pretty good incentive.
Like, if you had to bet every single game, that's cool.
Like that's
dope.
Every single game, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that.
I mean, there might be some like bonuses built into like wins for your team and contracts. I don't know if how that works.
But if it's their own dime,
and that would also make fucking.
So it's not bonus. It's just you lose money.
You get 70% of money, or you get 100%.
How do we fucking fix the refs?
And I think baseball is like an extreme example because it's 162 games, so like you actually get a very large sample. I think when you're talking about like what Calvin Ridley did, or maybe Calvin Ridley's not even the best, but if you put a Pete Rose situation into football, like, man, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares if Mike Tomlin's betting on the Steelers every week?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how on earth Could that ever be a negative for anybody on that field?
No, that's a different thing. Yeah, that's completely different. You're right.
Okay. This is where we don't see eye to eye. It can't. It's only a different thing to you because it's a 16-game season. If it were 162 football games, you wouldn't think it was a different thing anymore because now you would think there was something that comes with...
That's the difference.
There is difference. There has to be a rotation in like the players, and there has to be substitutions. There has to everybody plays on Sunday.
That is the difference.
If you're not fucking injured, you play on Sunday.
Okay, but you could run an injured guy out there. You could pull a guy that for whatever, there's a million tiny managerial decisions that take place both in the NFL and MLB. You could bet on your team and now start going for it on fourth down every fucking time because you don't care what the media says. You're trying to get this bag.
You think fucking Dan Campbell's not betting on his team?
I don't know.
That's why he's going for it on fourth down every time.
My point is that all of these tiny micro decisions get extrapolated out over a large sample. The reason why football feels different is because it's a very tiny sample. At the end of the day, it's all coming out in the wash. You're talking about like a dozen pitches here or there when you're talking about quote unquote mismanaging the bullpen. Right? It'd be no different than running out a guy who has a tweaked ankle because you need him for an explosive play.
But that is a difference. You're talking about explaining a player's health as opposed to,
you're saying the same thing with the bullpen.
But wait, what does that
It all comes down to health.
But what does that even matter? Like running a player with the tweaked ankle out there. What are you getting?
Same as it matters as putting a guy out there to throw an extra 7 pitches. Like it's all about the player's health, right? That's the big concern that you're saying that.
No, I just think they're fucking stacking their games that they bet on, like for MLB. I don't think it's about the player's health. Sure, like I just think that they would be.
If it's not about the player's health, then who cares?
Well, obviously they have to fucking take rest days.
Okay, so then it's about the player's health.
No, I don't care. But this is something that happens. They take rest days, correct?
Do you know why?
Okay. But
so they don't fucking hurt themselves.
I don't care about that, though. That's my point. Whatever. They have to do that.
Okay.
So they're going to stack him when they bet the game. Like, I don't understand why you're just talking past this. Like,
I'm just saying the exact same corollary would be if your running back tweaked an ankle, but you need him in the game. When you bet on him as opposed to...
But he tweaked his ankle and he's not going to run good. So you know what? He's probably not your best option.
I don't think it's a one-to-one comparison there just because for like that reason. They're going to... that they do that all the time anyways, right? Like if the player is able to play and be productive for the team, then they play.
I don't think in today's NFL, they're very, very, very cautious. Even like week to week, like... Okay, fine. Like, let's not say it's an in-game decision. Let's say it's a week-to-week decision where, they should be doubtful, but they're questionable.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Like
where it's like if I put them in now, then they can, they might win us this game, but
exactly.
But they're gonna
hurt us down the line.
Yeah. It's all. It just comes down to sample. We just don't understand math all that well as creatures of emotion, and it becomes very easy to look at.
But that's kind of like a bad thing, right? Wouldn't that be a bad thing if Tom was able to bet on his team and now he's forcing players to go play when they're hurt and they can have their longevity taken away from them because he's betting on this game?
But
isn't that a bad thing?
Is that also not giving them the
we
best?
We don't want that to happen.
But also that's not giving them the best chance to win if their player is injured. So they bring in the backup because they want to win.
Right.
Like you're fucking.
Like I wouldn't want like a head coach to have incentive to run out a player who's potentially injured or could get re-injured because they have money on the game.
But I don't think
which could happen if you start allowing them to bet on the game.
I think when you start thinking about the health of the athletes and when you're incentivized by betting, then I think that's a whole different a whole different talking point.
Yeah.
I just don't know that any of this actually comes into play, whether or not somebody's betting on themselves.
I think maybe it just like opens up a can of worms in some way, and it's probably best to avoid it.
How's Landon's injury, by the way? I heard he hurt his wrist from breaking in all those chips. Is he? No, I'm serious. Is he okay?
He's gonna be all right.
He's gonna be just fine. What, 100 left today?
I think I said 119 coming into today.
No, it had to be more than that. Becker
out in 20th. There's 119 remaining.
Oh, I could have sworn he sent text way long later. Okay.
Oh, maybe.
How much is up top for this?
850,000.
Oh.
Lots of
That's it?
fucking dollars.
What was the
A
buy-in?
lot of money. 3,500.
3,500.
How much of that you got, Burke?
I have a chunk.
Nice.
Chunky.
5%?
More than 5%.
All right.
Wow.
So you're gonna be sweating it out.
No. I mean, if he wins, great. If he doesn't, we'll move on. Would be nice way. Although, actually, no, I want him to win. I want him to win. I have enough of him.
He was about to try to fucking bush him.
There was a fucking poll by, I don't know if it was Poker
Like I can
News.
get more action.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
Doesn't
Poker
win
News or
this.
Poker.org, but they put a poll out saying who you got, and like 70% of people still have Becker. And it's like, fuck, slide in. Slide in.
DMs are open.
Give me
The bank
give me
is
my
open.
price.
Berkey's
man.
trying to bet on himself here.
Just tell me, yeah.
Well, that's getting closer.
There it is.
Berkey is Landon's manager, and he's betting on him.
Yeah, and this is completely fine.
There are 47 left.
Totally fine.
Until Landon can't like keep his eyes open. You're like, you got to get back out there and fire her bullet, kid.
Fucking right. You know what? He'll live.
I got money on this. Get back in
Yeah,
there.
get back in there.
Get back in
He'll
there.
absolutely live. Somebody said D-Negs updated the crossbook bet terms on his pod, but you guys haven't explained it here. So it's very simple. We're basically just being Book of Timex for one another. So what that means is every single no limit event that Becker plays and every single bullet that he plays, we're cross-booking 100% of his action. So if he busts, he owes us that buy-in. If he cashes, we owe him whatever he cashes for, less the buy-in, and vice versa. So every single no-limit event, Landon plays 10K and below, they're taking 100% cross-book. So basically, like, Landon's buying 100% of himself from D-Negs. I guess I'm buying 100% of Landon from D-Negs, and D-Negs is buying 100% of Becker from me.
Interesting.
There's a bonus bracelet bet. So if you win a bracelet, it's $100,000 bonus. Every event is capped at, I believe we settled on 300K, but I have to double check. It might be 250. I think we settled on a 300K cap though. And I think that's it.
So volume will play a pretty big role in this bet.
Well, it can.
I mean, if you think they're both winning players, then like volume should be, volume will matter a lot.
Well, volume's relative. You can still only play.
They have to be playing the same event.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
It's not mutual
No,
anymore.
that's what I'm saying. They don't. So it's just like,
But volume's relative. You can only play so many events in the summer, and it's still tiny
no,
sample.
I get it. But like, if you have a 20% ROI, the more buy-ins you play, the more likely you're going to realize that.
I apologize
20%.
for not being more informed, but is it only WSOP events?
Nope, everywhere. The whole
thing.
Vegas.
Win dailies?
Yeah, if he wants.
Guys are fucked.
No, that's the thing.
I'm
like,
joking.
I
know. I'm just kidding.
I would like him to play win dailies.
Yeah, of course. What's the most he can win?
Yeah, the only downside is that the buy-in's so small that we don't get anything out of it.
So there's 47 left down in Florida,
Okay.
and Landon is still alive.
Nice.
Okay.
That's great. I've made so many deep runs in this Florida event. I know exactly how he feels right now, and I hope he doesn't feel how I usually feel. I think I've gotten like 14th, 8th, or 14th, 12th.
You got a third once?
No, third was I got second. Oh, yeah. Fuck. I forgot about that.
Yeah, when they did the 4 final tables.
Yeah, when they did
together.
the big 4. I got
Mhm.
4th in the 5K main, or 3rd in
Yeah.
the 5K main. Yeah, fuck. I've finished like final 2 or 3 tables so many times, and I've always had the chip lead, and I've just always found a way to exit. I hope he doesn't do the same. Yeet it off, young man. Give him the ace 5. All right, let's get to the muck.
All right, gentlemen, let me set this up very quickly.
Oh,
I am
boy.
sort of in the muck.
Sort of in the muck?
No, you're in the muck.
Oh.
I think I clicked the right buttons. I think this might be more of a mindset.
But do
thing,
you know why you clicked the right buttons? If you did click the right buttons. Oh, we're
Kinda,
playing
sorta.
heads up here. Okay.
All right, so we're starting up a new table with I Heart Double D's. We're playing heads up. Looks like we're 100 effective, give or take. No, 100. Double D's opens the button. We have the 5-6 of hearts. So we decide to 3-bet, which I think is 100% pure.
So he goes 250. You go 11. He calls.
That is correct. And we go to a flop of Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts, 10 of Hearts. I'm sort of indifferent, if that's the right word, as to who these two queens are more beneficial for. I would assume I Heart is going to have more queens. He'll have stuff like Queen 4 suited, Queen 5 suited that I'm not necessarily always 3-betting. So I don't think I can have a big bet here. And I decide to go small. I Heart Double D's calls my $4 bet. And we see the 6 of diamonds on the turn. So now I have a pair and a flush draw. When I get called on the flop, he can have... He doesn't have any worse hearts that he's chasing. I don't know that 2-3 of hearts is really in there. He can have the king jacks and the jack nines, some backdoor diamonds. But I didn't feel great about betting on the turn. And I think checking here is okay. I decide to check. And he goes pretty big. He goes 22 into 29. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere. And we see a 3 of hearts on the river.
Hmm.
This is where things get kind of tough for me. I'm pretty happy about my
Once
hand.
you make the hand.
Right, I'm pretty happy about my hand, but I don't know if just SPR is less than 1. I don't know if shoving here is a thing. I was just really confused. And I actually wouldn't mind if... I don't know how I feel about a shove here. I check.
You have small flush. I think small flush, small bet.
Thanks for that, Burke. But I decide to check, and I Heart Double D's in game just snap shoves here. This is gonna sound crazy, but I don't actually feel great about it.
Guapo.
You're right. That's crazy.
Guapo.
It's
Don't.
just you rarely see.
Oh my God.
You just rarely see people
Please.
just. All right. Anyways, so in the back of my head, I'm seeing and hearing the little old man sticking his hand out to just pay,
Thank God.
and I do. I end up paying,
Oh, thank God.
and of course he shows us
8 high.
King high.
Yeah, there you go.
King Jack with the
Yeah.
Jack of Hearts. So he was bluffing.
No shit.
He was
Oh, wow.
bluffing.
No
So
shit.
I think this is more of a mindset thing. I didn't snap call, and I think it should have been a snap. I just, I don't know, man. I'm just convinced they always have it.
I think you need to play a lot more heads up. It's impossible to always have it. You're playing deck.
Yeah, I think when you make a flush heads up, it's like having the royal flush.
Like I haven't looked at this spot yet, but I'm pretty confident you never fold a 10 with a heart.
You're pretty confident. One more time, what?
That you never fold a 10 with a heart
You never fold a 10 with a heart.
on
yes.
the river there.
on the river.
Okay.
Like if you have 10, 9, 9 of heart, well, you're not gonna 3-bet the hand. If you have king
Ace-
10, king of hearts,
Yeah.
you never fold. Pretty confident. And you might not fold your other 10x all that often either. Heads up is just like really wide range versus range, even in 3-bet spots. Like you guys are playing a lot of fucking hands. And that just means there's a lot of available bluffs as well. Like he has to value bet here so thin on the end. He gets to jam all queen X with a heart for sure. He might even get to go thinner than that because you can't fold a 10. So like if he ever has like jacks, if he ever has like,
I think Jax is 4-betting pure pre-flop. I mean, if he's playing correctly, I'm almost certain that Jax is just pure.
well, let me see. I have these switched, but yeah, you're right. Jax is pure. Yeah, okay. So I guess he doesn't have like that many thin value bets. I guess like ace 10 would probably be value betting on the end.
Okay.
And
by value bet, you mean just jamming?
he's only gonna have one size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 pot or 2/3 pot, whatever it is. Like he's definitely not gonna have another size.
You think it's 3/4? You don't think he just puts it in? He's less than 1 SPR?
No, you're saying 3/4.
I'm saying that's all he has.
That is
okay,
putting
yeah.
it in.
Yeah, so he's only going to play the jam size. I actually think he played this hand really well.
I was confused on the river and also on the flop. Like on the flop, I know it's not a big bet. I know it's a smaller bet or check, I would assume.
Well, it depends.
Like when do I ever have a big bet here? On a queen 10.
Well, define big. Like you could easily half pot here. Queen high board's going to be very, very good for out of position 3-better in this particular spot. Like you're going to 3-bet really linearly. So you're going to have a lot of pairs, a lot of suited broadways.
I wonder if I'm correct in that he has more queens.
No, I don't think so. You're going to have the same suited queens or very similar suited queens. You're going to have king queen off. You're going to have ace queen off. He's going to 4-bet ace queen, I think, at some frequency. It's probably pretty close. You're going to have all pocket 10s. He's going to 4-bet pocket 10s pretty high frequency. So yeah, I think you probably have a slight advantage.
And on the turn,
turn's definitely a good check.
Yeah.
Turn is just right. I felt like it was a check because it's like, okay, well, I can easily call a bet here, and I don't necessarily want to make a bet, get jammed on, and not feel great about it.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those spots where you're like in the middle, right, in the middle of your range. You don't want like, aren't you going to start like once you bet the turn? Aren't you like starting to polarize, right? So if you're like right in kind of in towards the middle of your range, you don't want to be betting.
No queen. Yeah, I would expect you'd be able to bet some over pairs here for value, and couple that with like your backdoor diamonds are all going to bet.
Mm-hmm.
At a pretty high frequency, and then you're going to. The thing is, like, hearts are particularly weird here because you don't really have that many nothing type of hearts, right? So like you're going to have 6-5 for a pair, 7-6 for a pair. You're going to have 7-8 for a gut shot. I guess like 4-5 would maybe be the one that you rifle it off with because it's just 5 high and like you could potentially run it. And then everything else is going to be like big. So you'll have combo draws with like Jack 9, Jack 8, King Jack, Ace Jack, Ace King, and then you'll have like the high low, like Ace 3, Ace 4, Ace 5s.
Sure. 4-5 is definitely going to run it here, though, right?
I think 4-5 would be the one that runs it. It's the only one, though, because everything else has like some semblance of showdown value.
Yeah.
I remember specifically talking about this hand with the rest of the group, with Melissa and everybody else, and it was the turn in the river where everybody had different.
Your hand is for sure not a bet. You turn showdown value, like there's no.
So that's what I said. I was right in the same camp as you, and I know other people were saying that like, oh well, now you have a hand, now you have a pair, you beat some things, and you can like get value from like draws and.
It's close. It's close, but not in a 3-bet pot. Like your hand's just too weak.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up, you can definitely value bet thin. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see kings and aces bet this turn. I wouldn't even be that shocked to see like jacks bet at some frequency. Maybe even some of your 10x, but
and I know a couple people really like just donking and just getting it in.
I don't think so. No. You're applying ring strategy to heads up. Like your opponent bet the turn. He's positioning himself into having, equity or a queen. All of which, like, do they think a queen checks back?
No.
If they think a queen checks back, then sure, like you should shove, but like a queen never fucking checks. A queen is 100% jamming river. I think like people don't understand where the value thresholds lie in a heads up situation as opposed to a ring situation, right? Like when you're playing heads up, man, the line for your thinnest value and your strongest check is so much lower.
Yeah.
Than when you're playing ring because the range is so much wider, right? Like
you're playing the whole deck.
Yeah, if you're playing 12% of hands versus 8% of hands, or even if it's like an early position open big blind call, so like you're playing like 14% of hands versus like call it a 32% defense range, like that's going to narrow pretty quickly through one bet. And now they're just you obviously can't value bet like third pair on the turn because you've positioned your opponent to only having better.
Right.
But in heads up, like when you see bet this flop, he has to peel all of his backdoors. He has to peel all of his straight draws. He has to peel all of his high cards. He has to peel all of his pairs.
Especially for a 20% bet.
Like, yeah, like in ring, like deuces would just fold here some of the time. Deuces is like never folding for him.
No.
It's a continue in some sort of capacity. Right. So it's like you just land on river and there's so many fucking hands. Like you can never just open jam because you let him fold like 2/3 of his range correctly.
I realize you you've probably already seen the sim on this, but how do we
I actually haven't looked past the flop.
How do you feel about this small bet on the flop? Do you prefer check or small bet?
I would, in these situations, the thing is I'm used to playing deeper. So I was going to say in these situations, I would play like B40 or check, but that's because the SPR is usually a lot higher when I'm playing these spots. So I think like quarter pot's good. But the question I was going to ask you is like, are you just range betting?
You mean, am I just betting everything I have here?
Yeah.
I think that's very possible.
Okay, so that's like a big problem.
Yeah, because if I have like 5-6 of spades here, that's not
Again,
I mean,
probably
that's part of your problem, but some of the bigger problems are that like a lot of the hands you're supposed to be 3-betting pre, you just might not like have.
That,
like you're supposed to have like king 5 off.
Are there a lot less range bets in heads up just because
There's almost none.
Just because you're so
out of
wide?
position. Out of position.
Yeah.
Like in 3-bet pots, there's like no range bets.
Right, because your range is infinite.
You check on board textures that are so favorable for you in ring in 3-bet pots, like 6-5-5 is like a heavy check flop because you're concentrated the high cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're doing like a 50-50 like check bet mix, whereas like that's just a range bet in a 3-bet pot
for sure.
For the most part in ring. Like, maybe check 20% of the time.
To be
whatever.
fair, if I have like the 7-8 of clubs here, I think I am finding
okay,
some
well,
checks
you
here.
finding checks with total give ups isn't exactly helpful.
No. He's like, if I have the worst part,
it's like, what other hands are you checking? Like, you should be checking a queen here some of the time.
Yeah.
You should be checking like pocket 10 some of the time.
What if you have like 8s?
8s for sure, 9s. Yeah. Like a lot of these hands just check. Nothing bets at a pure frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Every hand in your range is going to have a checking frequency.
Okay.
Heads up is a really worthy pursuit. I never gave it much credit because I was a ring player my entire life, but like studying for airball was a lot. It was a very eye-opening experience of like how much my brain actually operates similarly to how heads up functions. So like I think that for years, maybe a lot of my struggle was that I viewed the game the way that heads up works, in that by the time we got mano-y-mano in a pot, I'm just thinking strictly about like, okay, well, his range is exactly this now, and I'm going to do this versus this portion, this versus that portion. And that's a lot of what heads up is. It's just having some like oversight as far as like either what your perceived range is and how your opponent's going to respond, or what you think your opponent's range has been narrowed down to and how you can exploit that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look at the sim. So I gave it a 2-sizing strat. It does use both. You can see that the big size is probably a little bit counterintuitive. It leans really heavily on trips and then overcards. Yeah. So aces, kings, they get in there a little bit, and then like a lot of your straight draws are in there. Your jack 9, jack 8, 9-8s, 9-7s.
This is the big bet you're talking about?
This is for the big bet size, and it's not used all that frequently. It's only 10%. So if you run this for single size, it's just going to bet quarter pot like half the time, and then it's going to check half the time. But the checking range is going to look very comparable. So whenever you're looking at like what checks, you could see that this is a breakdown of how we compartmentalize our checks based off of the hands themselves. And you can see like, about 7% of our checking range is made up of trips. About 3% is made up of overpairs. 2.5% full houses. So like we are checking good hands, but most of it's going to be like 10x, our ace highs, a quarter of our range is ace high, and then like our nothing. So that's going to be like your give ups and stuff like that.
What did it like with my exact hand?
Your hand is going to mix for sure. I didn't look at it yet. But 7-6 is just mostly checking. So yeah, your exact combo does get the bet. All the other 7-6 is just pure check.
And it like the small
size.
Wait, he has 6-5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
5-6 of hearts.
Okay, sorry. 5-6 pure bets. So yeah, 5-6 of hearts pure bets. All the other 5-6s we'll check at a high frequency.
There you go, Guapo.
All right, so my size was pretty good then.
Size is good. The big size gets in there a small amount, but not really a big deal. Yeah, it's. I mean, you were a little bit on the small side, but like totally fine. He's gonna play a little bit of raises. It's mostly just gonna be click because he's saying like queen, no queen. And the no queen side for him is just gonna be like, queen X blockers, some backdoors, some unblockers, things of that nature.
Is
a little
he
bit
ever,
of 10x.
Is he ever raising with king jack off?
Yeah, some. Depends on
He had
suits.
king of clubs, jack of hearts.
Yeah. Looks like king of spades, jack of hearts gets in there. King of clubs, jack of hearts gets in there some. Yeah, you want to have a heart, I think. Particularly, it seems like, yeah, you just want to have a heart. You want to have a heart and you don't want to block the auto folds. But like whatever, all these hands are going to mix. Like you're not going to face a raise all that often. Only 9.5% of the time, and it's a click whenever it does occur. So not really that concerning. This board very much favors you. So like if we just look at the breakdown, the ranges rather, you can see that you're in a spot where the EVs are relatively close. And this is common heads up. Like board textures just don't really run one way or the other because ranges are so symmetrical. But even in this scenario, it's like your equity is 3, almost 4 points higher than his is. Which
Am I correct that the nut advantage is basically almost the same there at the top? When I'm looking at this little graph here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys converge at the top. So you have more full houses, but barely. You have more quads, but barely. And he has slightly more trips. So your instincts were right. He has like 0.5% more trips. You just win in the overpair category. But the thing is that overpairs aren't as powerful on a board texture like this.
Right.
So that's why you see this convergence at the top and more of a separation here in the middling equity.
When you see a graph like this, okay, yeah, thank you for that. When you see a graph like this means I have the range advantage, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
You have the range advantage. That's what's showing up in the equity difference. And then the nut advantage is pretty symmetrical.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing the EVs run almost 1-to-1 because the gap in the range advantage is very small. So that's the small equity advantage. And then the lack of nut advantage means that the EVs are basically even. You have very, very, very subtle EV advantage. It's like 1%. So yeah, like that's why we don't get the big bet. That's also why we have to check flop at a really high frequency. And you're going to see this on the vast majority of boards in 3-bet pots because, again, ranges are just pretty symmetrical. So for that reason, 6 of diamonds will become a spot where you polarize, which means you're probably going to check like 2/3 of the time and bet big the rest. If I had to guess, having not looked at it. So check about half the time and then 2E the other half of the time. So your only sizes here or your only size here, even given 2, is just 2E, which is 3/4 pot. Checking about half the time, you can see that your hand does follow through with a bet here about 1/4 of the time, a little more, maybe about 1/3 of the time, but mostly plays check. As we suspected, 5-4 hearts rifles it off, and that's really the only one. Even 8-7 of hearts checks mostly. 9-8 of hearts is a pure check.
And 4-5 was because we just have 5 high.
Yeah, it's the only. I guess you have a little bit. Oh no, you don't have 4-3. So yeah, it's your only heart combo that is no pair, no draw, no combo. Sorry, no pair, no combo draw, and can't really improve. Everything else is like pretty strong. Like you have ace king of hearts. That's a pure bet, but it's just a value bet. Same thing with ace jack of hearts. You can see that like ace 10. Only bets if it has diamonds. Ace 9 of hearts, pure check. Ace 8 of hearts, pure check. Ace 5 of hearts, pure check. Ace 4 of hearts, we can rifle it.
Now, when you say rifle, when we have a hand like 4-5 of hearts, that just means we're just calling off when he shoves, right?
I bet 4-5 of hearts, bet folds. Ace 4 of hearts, bets calls, if I had to guess. So let's see.
I would assume you just call.
No, you definitely don't call 5-5. Yeah, 5-4 hearts, pure
fold. On a pair board, like
5-4 hearts, pure fold. Ace 4 of hearts, pure. Nope, it mixes. Ace 3 of hearts mixes more towards the fold side.
Sometimes your ace is good. Sometimes ace high is good when they just rip it in with like the king jack of diamonds or something.
Yeah, it's that simple. Definitely can't call 5-5. So going back here, our heart bluffs are pretty select. We just don't really have many of them. It's these wheel aces, as I kind of suspected, in the 5-4 of hearts. And 5-4 hearts will probably follow through with a jam on river if it bricks. Like, let's say the river's the deuce of spades. I would suspect that we're jamming 5-4 as its bottom of range. And, yep, about half the time. So that aligns. Oh, and then as I stated, ace high is just going to check. So yeah, the missed ace high hearts, they just give up. You're allowed to give up. So as it stands, river is the three of hearts. Yeah. Pretty sure you're going to play check. So you do get leads, not all in. All in's like really rare. Only coming 3% of the time with like very specific portions of your range. So it's a mix between block and 40%. Your hand probably not much because it blocks pairs. Yeah. So your hand's just like really well served as a bluff catch. It leads for the actually leads for the all in size here. Very small percentage of the time. If we simplify this to just a single size of B40, which I think is more reasonable, you might see it in there a little more. It looks like we're leading about half the time, so about 40% of the time. So now your hand becomes a pure check. So it's small flush, big bet. It only wants to be all in, and the reason is because you block full houses. So you block queen six suited, you block pocket sixes, you block 6x of hearts, right? You block all these hands that could potentially have you beaten. So this is a hand that really wants to play for stacks in some sort of capacity, whereas a hand like, let me see another flush that may not want to. So like king nine of hearts is almost a pure lead. The reason being is like it doesn't have any blocking properties, and it still unblocks like better hands like full houses and nut flushes. Now, that's not saying it's bet folding, but it's more so just saying like it's happy to get 40% pot share versus a queen, and just live with that result. Whereas like 6-5 of hearts wants to just get it all because a queen will jam, and also I guess it can't really bet fold because it's getting shoved on for like a click. So I can't imagine there's like any folds versus jam. It's 19% more. Wow, still somehow folding 35%. But it's because you're like blocking with like your nothing, like king jack, ace jack. You're blocking with like king nine off. So it's all of your nothing. The only thing that folds is like your absolute nothing. Anyway, check is good, as we suspected. King jack off, pure all in, as we suspected.
So he nailed it too.
I heard double D's is good. Yeah. You should know this by now, man. And like, you know, he does have some traps here that play this way. Like he has a small amount of pocket tens. But like, look, as I said, he's jamming all of his queens as suspected. He's jamming some ace 10 for value as suspected. So if he has the ace of hearts, he's in. Yeah. Basically when he has the ace of hearts with the 10, he's just always all in. It's not a bluff. Like that's just straight value. All of his queen X, as we said, it's in. All of his flushes are going to shove, of course. Let's see. Any other 10x going for value? No, just ace 10 is his thinnest value bet.
What are his pure bluffs?
Pure bluffs are going to be like king jack.
How do you filter that? Do you know how to do that?
I do. I can't recall though off the top of my head. It is.
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I think Hunt showed me this and I forget it now. There. Not there. No. There's a way to do it. I just don't remember.
All right, no worries.
Anyway. Oh, this is how. Yeah. So it's
no made
hand. King high, ace high. And then I guess like third pair would be considered a bluff.
So it looks like his open ender is king jack, jack 9. His gut shot, jack 8.
Yeah, so it's his backdoor diamonds. Like the king high backdoor diamonds are all rifling it off. The open enders that miss, the king jacks, they're in there. The jack 9, jack 8s, they're in there. And these are largely just like a function of being bottom of range. Because they don't really, like when you're rifling off diamonds, they're basically just attacking your heart draws. Because these don't have any blocking properties over the queen. You're not really 3-betting many offsuit queens.
Do I ever fold a 10?
Good question. I would say no if you have a heart. but we'll find out. So he jams. Let's see what your calling range looks like. Wow, you fold a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's because we're filtered.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fold a lot of your nothing. Shocking. So 11% of your nothing calls, buddy, just so you know.
Right.
Some amount of
not
your
that good.
Some amount of your ace high and third
There
pairs
you go,
is in there.
30%.
Okay, yeah. So
third of the time.
like I said, ace 10 nearly a pure call. Ace 10 offsuit is a pure call because you're going to have a heart or a diamond to have gotten this far through this line. King 10 calling it a decent frequency depending on suits. King 10 suited calling about a third of the time.
All right, so there are some 10s that are folding.
Yeah, well, of course, that's going to be the indifference point. But like, you would fold a queen here.
Woody.
He tanked with a flush.
He didn't tank with a flush. Did you tank with a flush?
I tanked a little bit. I just assumed he has like the queen 10 or he's got a better flush.
Ace king of hearts is a pure call. Like, he's definitely overfolding to the shove.
Oh yeah, like I'm hating life trying to call with a 10 here.
No fucking way you call with a 10.
No
shot.
Never calls with a 10. I think you don't fold a queen though, right? How could you fold a queen?
You give me too much credit.
Bro, you wanted to fold the 6-high flush.
You give me too much credit.
Against a guy who's good.
I hope nobody's listening to this, by the way. Whoever in the WSOP streets, they're going to want to play.
Oh, don't worry.
We're getting you action, baby.
Justin just said, did the king really just say that DD's is good?
I don't know DD's. I just know he plays a
DD's
lot.
is good. Mally just doesn't like me saying that.
He's a hater.
Justin's also very tough to play heads up. We play a little bit of heads up too.
3 deuce of diamonds calls.
Yeah, I'm not finding that one.
Ace deuce of hearts, pure call.
Not finding that one.
Right. So like, this is what I mean. Heads up is a very complex game. It's a matching of what does my hand do to my opponent's range, right? And coming up with conclusions there. So it's not about the raw equity of the exact call down, right? It's not about just having, although like obviously a queen is a pure call and a flush is a pure call because these hands just have so much equity against a jamming range for 75% pot that they have no choice, right? They're resigned to their fate. But your 10Xs now, your high cards, your bottom pairs, your 6Xs, these all potentially can make for calls dependent upon how they block or unblock. So like you can see that the 6X doesn't really call because it blocks bluffs. You can't call king 6 of spades or king 6 of clubs because he's supposed to rifle it off with king jack off, right? So that's really bad. But you can call with ace king of hearts pure because it doesn't really block as many bluffs.
I mean, ace king of hearts is a flush.
Oh, yeah. That's why it's a pure call. That makes sense. Sorry, ace king off with a heart.
There you go.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Because the king of hearts doesn't block anything. He's not supposed to have that many hands that just have the naked king of hearts, but he is supposed to have a lot of hands that have like the naked jack of hearts. Like same thing with like ace king off with the ace of hearts. He's not bluffing that many nut flush blockers. Nothing really makes sense, right? Like he'd have to yeet it with ace jack off with the ace of hearts, and that's a massive overbluff. That hand just wins when you check on the turn. He just checks it back. So like a lot of those hands don't exist, and it's important to understand how these ranges function in cohesion with one another. As well as like how they break down as each action is taken. So well done. Sim approved.
Yeah.
I think mindset wise though, I get the X mark.
Yeah, mindset wise, you're nit. You love money and hate money at the same time far too much. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to shake it out of you,
Hey
man.
man, I hit the right buttons this time at least.
I might just like, maybe we'll do the thing where
you have to burn money.
no, instead of him betting on himself, he gets like taxed. Like we just run his hands through Wizard, and every time he makes a nitty fold, he has to pay the amount that he would have won if he called.
Wow, I like this.
Right? Because like that's the part that's not setting in. When you fold, yeah, it's 0 EV in theory, but the actuality is you abandoned that bet.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't capture that money. So you should have to pay that tax.
Yeah,
you should just have to
double.
lose. Well, we'll charge him half because every
basically,
call
like,
isn't
say
winning.
Double. Yeah.
Well, if it's a pure call, maybe we should have to charge him the whole thing.
Pure calls.
That's
whatever percentage
whatever
of
the percentage of the call
yeah,
is, that's how much he gets charged. I like that. I like this a lot. I'm going to institute
Well,
this.
I guess we'll never see another hand from Guapo ever again.
Wait, hold on, buddy. If he nails it, He should get some incentive.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no incentive. He wins the fucking pot. He gets better at poker.
Yeah,
He makes more money down the line. If you guys haven't already, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that bell. Make sure you get notifications for when we go live. That's going to do it for us today. I got to get out of here. I got to get Pip to the vet. But we do have one final announcement. I know I teased it earlier in the show, and I mentioned it last week. I've been getting flooded in the DMs. Like, you're coming to Milwaukee? Like, I guess I am coming to Milwaukee. So above the felt, and I practiced this one. I practiced this one.
You got it.
Potawatomi.
There you go.
Okay. Tom tried to correct me with some bullshitty fucking. He tried to trip me up.
Yeah, of course.
He said it's Potawatomi, and like it ain't Poto nothing. Okay.
I would have thought Potawatomi.
No, okay, you're out. Potawatomi Casino and Hotel. They're opening their they're opening their poker room on Wednesday. This is their grand opening. We're all going to be there. Myself, Jamin Burton, Jamie Kirst. I almost said Jamie Burton.
Jamie Burton.
Jamin Kerstetter. Jamie Kerstetter. We're all going to be in attendance. We have a special meetup game on May 2nd, which I believe is next Thursday. I think it's Thursday. Pretty confident it's Thursday. I'm not confident in anything anymore these days. It's next Thursday. I got the calendar up. So next Thursday at noon, special grand opening of the poker room. We're going to be doing a meetup cash game. So be sure to come. We're going to be playing some No Limit Hold'em, some Potawatomi Omaha. Mm-hmm. You see what I did there? Mm-hmm. There are going to be other grand opening festivities that will be announced later throughout this week. So big shout out to those guys. I might even catch a Brewer game. I just want to go down the slide, to be quite honest.
There's a slide?
There's a slide.
Yeah, the
mascot
Brewer
goes down every time they hit a home run.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be that guy.
Wow.
I feel like we can make this stuff happen. You know how they always do, like when you're a personality,
yeah.
They'll like, bring you in and they'll put you in the fucking suit, and then everybody will go wild and you'll go down the slide. I want to do that.
Well, let's make it happen.
But I also hate the Brewers, so it's kind of...
Talk to Tom. He'll get it done.
Let's go, Tom. Get this shit done. All right, so be sure to stay tuned for the rest of this week. We're going to give you more announcements for the grand opening up there in Potawatomi. I'll be there. Jamie will be there. Burton will be there. We're going to be filming the whole thing, so be sure to come hang out with us. We'll be back tomorrow, noon Pacific, sharp, by the way.
Always. Noon sharp. We had a little issue with OBS today, but we're not going to have that problem tomorrow.
It's not our fault. Be sure to tune in.
It's not your fault.
We're going to have a fun one tomorrow.
Guapo's fault.
It's not your fault. We'll see you guys all then.
Peace.
Guapo's fault. Later, Rod.